Hi guys, happy Saturday. It's Michelle here. You're on my page. I hope I'm on my page. This is an impromptu live. I'm best at those. I wasn't planning this, but I'm working on a project and I thought since it's a project where I'm sitting still kind of at my table that I would go ahead and make it a live in case you're interested. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna focus the camera right down on my project. So what I'm doing is I have a board and I'm making a chalkboard with the outside perimeter in IOD Moulds, and it's a mock-up for a workshop, so I need to know like how much time it's going to take. I've got 2 hours. I'm not going to be live for 2 hours. I'm just going to show you maybe 40 minutes of the process, maybe half an hour. Say hello when you come on. Let me just find myself here and we're going to go ahead and get started. What's everybody doing? Oops. What's everybody doing today? What's the weather like? It's kind of warm here, but cloudy. Warm for New Hampshire. All right, as soon as I pull myself up, we're gonna start. I've got all my molds and my flour ready, my board ready. There I am. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Okay, I am going to point you guys down, and we are starting at the beginning because I'm doing this for a workshop, timing is kind of important. Whoops. And my stand is gonna tip over on me, so there we are. There's my board and my products. Okay, so here we are. The board is a scrap board that I had aside. It's not even cut straight, but I don't care because it's really just a mock-up. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, because it's the first thing the participants are gonna do, is paint the board, and then I'm gonna put it aside to dry while we make molds. It's going to need several coats. That's something I'm a little scared of, like if we'll have time for that. I am painting with DIY Little Black Dress. And I'm going to do just kind of a thin coat. My board is raw, so there's nothing on it. But I also want to make sure that after a couple of coats that I can season the chalkboard. Have any of you made your own chalkboards? The kind of most important step is seasoning it when you're done before you write it so that your chalk will wipe up. And the seasoning part is when you take your piece of chalk sideways and you rub it all across your board so that whatever you write in it doesn't stick on it. You don't want, like they call it, ghosting. You don't want whatever you write to stay permanently on your board. You want to be able to erase it. All right. Now, I don't always, actually, I really try never to paint before molds because I want to make sure that my molds are sticking right to my surface and paint isn't part of the equation in case they don't stick. But for workshop purposes, it's going to be important because, you know, we don't have all day, right? And there's not always access to dryers. So I want to give this time to dry while I make the molds. All right, so there's that. I'm just going to leave my brush in the cup. I'm going to put this aside and then we're going to start molding. All right, this is going to just go aside to do some drying. All right, so, oh geez, I'm so messy. Now I'm going to get the wet wipes ready. And we are going to start casting some molds with the IOD air dry clay. And then I'm going to glue those. I guess this is kind of not worth. It doesn't matter. All right. So I've got my air dry clay. Love this stuff. And then, so what I want to do is a perimeter around it so that the outside of the board can be painted in a different color and the inside will be the chalkboard. So I've got my clay, I've got my mold. I haven't used this one yet. It looks very different from the ones that I have used that are not as pretty. Hi, Trilby. Okay, so the important thing to do before you use your clay in the molds is to dust it with flour or cornstarch. It just helps it release easier. So I'm just dropping a little bit in here. If you forget on the first time, it's okay, but as you keep, like if I were to make 5 or 6 of this one mold here, it would leave little bits of the clay and then be harder to get out the more I'm making. So I'm just kind of softening up my clay a little bit. And then, oh, I see this is separate. Okay, so I am going to just kind of slowly press it into the part of the mold that I want. So I can see this bigger piece going at the top of the board. I'm going to go back and make that neat after, but just so I don't waste any clay, I'm just kind of pressing that in. And then this is the mirror image side. What is everybody up to today other than watching me? You have any projects going on? Is it dump day, grocery shopping day? I slept in late and had my coffee. And I just booked a flight to Idaho, you guys. This mock-up is actually for a workshop I'm doing in Idaho, and I'll probably schedule a local one too. I'm going to be posting info on my page. There's several of us IOD and DIY retailers that are going to Idaho April. There's a festival April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and we're all teaching classes there. It is at the Withered Barn in Homedale, Idaho. I think Homedale. I guess I gotta double check that. I'm flying into Boise. Never been to Idaho. So if you guys are near there, or even if you're not near, because Lord knows I'm not near, it's a 9-hour flight from New Hampshire, but I'm really excited to hang out with my friends and to meet all of you and to just do a fun workshop with this such awesome collaboration. All right. Do I have somewhere to? So if you notice, I take this at an angle, and this has the micro rim, which is a new feature in the last like 2 releases ago from IOD. And the micro rim helps you get a nice flat backing so that when you go to glue this on, you're gonna have like perfect contact between this and your surface, your piece of wood. Hi, Reba. You created a video, good for you. I need to work on my editing. Yeah, Withered Barn is awesome. I'm so excited. I've known Susan for a couple of years, and which is why I'm going out there to teach, because she's just fabulous, and I can't wait to meet her family and be on the Mancisidor family farm. Do you have a set amount of clay? The clay actually needs overnight to dry, but I glue it on while it's still pliable. And so the tricky part for this that I'm worried about for a workshop, meaning having this done in 2 hours, is that it should be painted before participants leave, and so I have to figure out how to paint it without getting the paintbrush to squish the molds. Hold on here. I gotta get there we go, so you guys can see that. So they're pretty detailed. So this is gonna go on either side here. That's part of the acanthus mold. I'm probably saying it wrong. That's what it looks like when you go on the website to search for it. Okay, so now I'm gonna do some of the trimmings mold. Can you see the bumped up area there, which is what is the micro rim? Okay, let's do what will be fun to paint here. Daisy, let's do rope. You can actually use any of the DIY paint to do the chalkboard with. I'm going to do black just so it looks kind of traditional, and sometimes people can't imagine, like if I were to do it in a pretty blue, they might have a hard time imagining what it could look like if they don't like the color blue. So, all right, so the micro rim is just taking off what I don't need. I'm going to need several of these. So at the class, people will be able to choose like which ones, you know, which mold they want. There's 2 of these trimmings molds, and there are a lot of really good options. So there's that. This is air dry clay. So whoops, I threw the scraps on my plate. I got to pay attention to myself here. All right. And I forgot to dust that. And that came out pretty well, didn't it? Well, I'm going to dust the next one. And I'm going to soften my clay and add another bit of rope. My paint is still wet. When it dries, I'm going to add another coat and keep casting. You make some beforehand. Yes, you can make them ahead of time. Some people say they freeze them. I've always kind of just... I haven't made them ahead of time to freeze them. If I want to do something that's going to dry quickly to paint, I use the resin. In a workshop setting, you know, half the fun is that people want to learn how to use the clay and cast their own. So it needs to be kind of, I need to do this kind of in real time. And one thing I've learned from doing the real time is that whatever time it takes me to do this, I need to add on another, you know, take that, like if it takes me an hour, it's going to take somebody who hasn't done it before maybe an hour and a half. I learned that the hard way once when one of my workshops went really long and I couldn't figure out why. Will you go to that huge furniture outlet store she took a tour of? You know what? I think it's going to be I saw that. Well, first of all, I'm flying, so I won't be flying any furniture back with me. But also, so I'm arriving on Wednesday. I've got all day Thursday to prep. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we are just chocked full of workshops. And then Sunday night, I head to the airport and fly out Monday morning. So it's, I don't think there's going to be time for shopping, but there's going to be vendors and live music and artisans. And I think there are a lot of wineries around her. And so that's what we're planning on doing. And you know what? I'm really going just to hang out with everybody. So it's going to be Jane from Funkature DIY in Georgia, Mara from California from Vintage Retail Therapy, and Jerry from the Withered Barn. Jerry is in Wisconsin. And I know these gals from IOD and DIY, and Jerry and Susan and I have met a couple years ago and hung out at the IOD training. All right, my paint over there is almost dry. So I like to roll it back, and then if you do get a little bit of a split, you can fix it after. All right, so the question is, should I put another coat of paint on my board? I think I'm not going to. I think I'm going to start gluing. Let's start gluing and see how far we get. All right, so here's my board. And since we're only gluing around the edges, I think I'd want the chalkboard to go the tall way. All right, since we're only gluing around the edges, and the edges are dry, you can see the color in the paint. I'm just going to clean my hands with a wet wipe. This paint dries pretty quickly, but I think you might need 3 coats in the middle because you don't want to put it on so thick that you have texture if it's going to be a chalkboard. Yeah, it does sound like fun, Lisa. Where do you live? You can fly out. If I can go. And a reminder to wrap your clay up so it stays dry. Let's do that while I'm working. It's good to have a baggie if you're gonna get distracted, to keep it nice and dry. Okay. Here we go. I have got some glue, Tite Bond glue, and it's probably, oh, I'm cutting the top off the glue because it's not opening. Sorry, I've got glue stuck in there. Because apparently I didn't close it. All right. So, Tite Bond glue and a brush. You're in Kentucky. Well, that's closer than New Hampshire. Okay, so here is what I'm thinking. I've got these two ends here, and I think they're going to go like right here. So let's just glue it on, or it could go like that. No, I think I want it across the top. All right, so I just take my brush. Make sure to get it right to the edge. If any glue squishes out, you can go back and, well, you could wipe it off, but also you can paint over it once it dries. Not that big of a deal. And it's better to go to the edge anyways because you don't want any of this curling because the air dry clay shrinks as it dries. So it also, you will get some cracks. This clay is meant to look artistic and you'll get some cracking, but not a lot. As long as, okay, wait, let me think, as long as, hold on. There we go. Okay, as long as I figure this out, you don't, when I first did this, I realized I had the tendency when I was pushing my clay down to also kind of stretch it out. So you want to actually not do that and maybe even push it kind of toward itself a little bit because that will create less cracking when it dries. And you just make sure all the little edges are down. Okay, so now this one is going to go on opposite that. I don't know why my nose is running. I think it's the heat. All right, so I'm going to glue, and then you can see, so if I look at this from a side view, if I get down like level with the table, you can see where the mold might be lifting a little bit and not pressed all the way down. I can see it right here. So you just go in and you go ahead and press it. It won't lift once the glue is, once it is down with the glue. The glue works pretty well. This also dries surprisingly hard, the clay. I've used it on furniture even, which I at first was a little wary about. But you guys know I always do test pieces to make sure. Once this is down and painted and sealed, it's not going anywhere. You have to really work hard to break it or crack it or... All right, so I want it to be symmetrical, kind of, as best as I can. I'm just pressing down there. Got a little extra glue. I'm just wiping that up with my finger. Apparently I got some also on here. I'm a messy crafter. So I like techniques that are forgiving. All right, so in doing a workshop, I guess one problem is going to be if people squirt a lot of glue out, you don't want to mix that with paint. All right, and now the paint. I never put an apron on, I just realized. Okay, so now let's see. I might put a fleur-de-lis up there. And then on the edges, something like this. Sure, let's do that. Can you guys hear my lights buzzing? It drives me absolutely nuts. I have fluorescents in my workshop. I usually play music, but I can't play music over my Bluetooth and be live, so, but it's just very unpleasant. Okay, hi Sandy, here we go. Yeah, that's kind of a big edge, but these aren't the actual size of the boards I'll be using, so that's okay. And I got a second one. I'm trying to make it not too complicated, really. Also trying not to drip my glue. Okay, and we're going to do the mirror image over here. And I think that I had to move it over a little bit because I want it kind of symmetrical. So I'm just going to make sure I get the glue. Okay, and it takes a little bit of paint out because it's just barely dried and not sealed. Okay, let's do a fleur-de-lis. Let me find I'm thinking of fleur-de-lis right there. It will be pretty. All right, I'm gonna move this because I don't want to get my crumbles of clay on it. So this is part of the fleur-de-lis, is part of the fleur-de-lis mold. And this is the one that has a little bunny in it. All right, so I hope that's not too big. I think it'll fit. Yeah, I think this can make the chalkboard fun, and Lisa, and I've done this a few times, but I'm bad at taking pictures. There's too much clay in there. And sometimes I make these sample boards and I bring them in the shop and they sell, and then I don't have my sample boards anymore. But I usually am not doing it, not in a rush, but, you know, like I'll do it in pieces and come back to it. But for this purpose, I want to see what can be done in a 2-hour setting. And I think plenty. I was a little nervous, but I'm getting pretty far, actually. All right, so there's the pretty fleur-de-lis. Bring the board back up. Get some glue on here. Getting it all over my hands. Okay. I guess I should have done a test thing first to make sure it fit. I'm gonna make it fit. Put it right there. And I made a mess of that, guys. I got glue on both sides when I flipped it. And I'm going to press it down right in the middle there. All right, I think that's looking pretty. What do you think? Let me see the top. All right, so we're just going to do the bottom. Should I do another scroll at the bottom, or I've got this left? Oh, you know what? Maybe I could do this and then put something right here. Let's do that because I don't want to waste these two that I already made. Then we'll give it another coat of paint, and then the molds and the outside are going to be a different color. So anybody have any suggestions for the outside color? Should it be white maybe? That's kind of boring. But if you are looking at a workshop sample, okay, so there's that. All right, now I want something small to go here. Let's go back to the acanthus mold and see what is on there, unless there is a smaller fleur-de-lis, but it would go right, it's a little too big. So here's the smaller fleur-de-lis, but I think it would take up too much space on the board. So the acanthus, I've got a couple of small scrolls. What do we think? I need something small to go there. So I am making a chalkboard pearl. So this, I've painted it. It's just a pine board. I painted it with little black dress DIY. There's one coat on there. I'm using the air dry clay and molds, and I'm doing this as a mock-up for a workshop. Let's go back so we don't have too much mixing and do those little tiny scrolls right there and see how that looks. I'm going to move my board so I don't get stuff on the black paint. So here, these are both mirror image again. And I'm not going to use this, so this was my other rope, but I don't want to waste this. So here we go. I'm just going to mesh it right in there. So you guys, I don't know if you know, but I started a YouTube channel. Right now, all it has on it is all my live videos, and there are a lot of them. And they're nicely organized now, which was what my problem was before. Because I have them on the IOD page, the DIY page, and my own page. So now they're organized and broke into categories of molds, transfers, paint techniques, furniture repair. So you can find things easily. So if you ever are looking, it's Serendipity House. Might be Serendipity House LLC. All right, there are these. These are small enough, I think. So let's test them on the board. Yeah, so if you're ever looking for any of my videos, that's a good place to find them. It was so hard for me when somebody asked for something to find it by scrolling through the Facebook version of it, because it's just not, there's just no way to organize it on Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to turn it this way. I'll turn it upside down after, when we paint some more. All right, so how about that? They look like little E's. Should I do it this way? Yes, I think I like them better going in. All right, these are the last two pieces of clay. So let's see, I've used less than a half a thing of clay, and these boards are smaller than my workshop boards are going to be. So let's see, we'll figure everybody gets a board. How about a lower section of leaf? Is there a leaf on? Oh, these? I think that would look good if I had a longer board. I know I'm looking at this. I just wanted to use a board I already had, and the ratio of like available chalkboard in it is not too good. So that's why this is just a mock-up and not what I'll actually use. Okay, now, okay, do we have any votes for the outside color? I'm gonna move I'm going to wrap my clay up. I am going to paint the inside another coat of black, and then the molds and the outside get a different color. Actually, I should do the outside color first. I will grab whatever. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the clay really well. I'm going to move the glue. All right, here's what we have. So it's going to be black, and what color? So that looks good on the bottom there, yeah? Okay. How about a lower set? Oops, I just read that. Okay. Black and mermaid tail, turquoise. Oops, I don't know. What color? How about apothecary? Let's do apothecary. All right, and I am just grabbing so I'm going to use apothecary. Where is it? DIY. I don't know where oh, there it is. That was a lot of spinning. It's a pretty light green. None of this will need to be sealed. Let's see. I think I want to dump it onto a plate because I've got these little like crackle things going here. And it's very thick. I'm going to add a little squirt of water. Well, actually, let's just see how it does, because I don't want to squish the details in the clay. Ooh, look at that. Because since I'm at the end of my jar, and it's thickened up a little bit. All right, so I'm going to get the edge. Is that all done? Let's see if I can. Yep. I'm going to get the edges first so I don't forget or miss. I love this color. I've seen it used a lot in my workshops, but I've never actually painted a piece of furniture with it. I've always, I don't know, I got to get out of my blue zone. Or I think actually what I really like best is not necessarily blue, but I really like jewel tones. I like whites and jewel tones. And this feels kind of pastel-y, even though when it's actually done and dried, it doesn't look pastel-y. I'm not a pastel girl. All right, I know, sorry, you guys can't see a whole lot, but if I don't do this part, then I've finished my projects, cleaned it up, and totally forgotten to do edges like this. So, now that it's done, all right, here we go. Oh, do I have a piece backwards? Which one is backwards? It all looks symmetrical to me. Let me turn it around. I can certainly paint it upside down to me. I just didn't want to lay it upside down. All right, and you can tell me if you see something that looks not right. I have to grab a thing of water. Let's see. I am just going to take my squirt bottle and just get that a little bit wet. Okay, here we go. I'm going to use an artist brush probably in there because this brush is a little too thick. Now normally what I do, and ideally what I think you should do if you have the chance, is paint this the next day after your clay is dry. In a workshop setting, which is why I'm doing this right now, that's not possible. So does it look okay, Deanne? Okay, let's see. This is, yeah, it's a test in the way that I just want to see how much I could get done for a workshop. And painting, like I said, I don't usually paint the clay while it's damp. But I don't have anything upside down, right? Did you notice? I mean, I'm going to end up having to take pictures of this as my test board. So, all right, I'm using a soft artist brush. me get myself some more paint. Squirt it right over my... All right, now, so the trick I think in here is going to be to not, you don't want to press too hard. And it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to do the black last, so I know I'm getting a little bit of the black on there. But you just press gently so you don't lose any of the details of the mold. It's easy on the outside. My brush is just going right in between. I don't think my board is, my board feels like it's a little warped, the way it's moving around. All right, that's good. Adjust the angle to match the other side. So these two angles, well, you know what, my board isn't square either. It's got, definitely has flaws. Let me paint up here and then I will look at it from your perspective. Whoops, I shouldn't have. My favorite part of doing all this too, and you can't do this when the clay is wet, unfortunately, but I love going back after it with a wash or a dark wax, because all those little details in there, all of the ups and downs and the crevices really show. But I have no idea how to do that with wet clay without ruining it, so I don't see that that's going to be possible in a class. If you have ideas on that, I would love to hear. Sometimes I miss the obvious. There we go. I think actually the crackling of the clay, if it does some, it doesn't always do a whole lot. Gives it more character, and I like the way that comes out. And maybe painting this a color other than white will give it a little detail too, because the clay is white, so maybe some of that will come through after. All right, let's see. What do we think? I know I'm being kind of quiet. I get into my zone when I get the brush in my hand. I think if you're somebody who's never used any of these products and is not a painter, this is a pretty user-friendly project, don't you think? I mean, I think that there are going to be people here that like to craft but have never used molds. So this seems to be a kind of a pretty simple, if you follow directions, and instant gratification kind of project. All right, I'm going to turn this around the other way. And I can see all the spots I missed that way. I still am not really seeing the problem here, Deanne. This one, I mean, it definitely, oh, I see, right here. Okay, I gotcha. This might not be movable. It is not, it is stuck. That's a testament to the glue. Okay, it's stuck, and you're right, the angle is off. Just a real life project. I'll use some camera trickery. Thank you for noticing that. I saw it a little too late. The glue definitely has taken hold. And my brush, I love this brush. I don't want to get rid of it. These little pieces of, I don't even know where it's from, but these little pieces keep chipping off when I'm in the middle of painting. But I love how it works. The bristles are nice and soft. My board is driving me nuts. All right, almost done. Then we're going to apply another coat of chalk, of the black chalk base on the top. And this is pretty much drying where I started it because it just dries so fast. But the issue is that the clay isn't going to be dry enough. All right, so that's pretty much done. Probably missed some spots, but that's okay. I wonder, you know, I might be able to even add to this if I have a little time, like the cracklier stamp on the edges. Let's do the black in the middle. All right, so it's been 40 minutes already. 20:40, okay. Facebook doesn't usually share my videos anyway, so I won't care about time. They'll probably penalize me. All right. Probably should have done the edges first, because now how am I going to get my hand in there? Also, let's see, I'm going to wet my brush. There we go. It was coming out a little too thick, which causes all those brush strokes, which I don't necessarily want on a chalkboard. Okay. Now I need another brush that I like. This is just an artist's brush. And then we're going to go in and get the edges. So I think to add instruction to all of this and the fact that people might be new, maybe 45 minutes onto my time of doing the actual project. You guys are pros. You could whip this right out. I just wish there was a way in the time that I have to add detail to the molds. I mean, I don't think even dry brushing would work. I think I'm going to need to have pictures of my project first before I try that. Whoops, shoot. I guess somebody else is bound to do that too. Hi, Jerry. This is my workshop board. Jerry's going to Idaho too. We all just booked our tickets today. Jerry, I'm trying to think of a way to add detail to my molds while the clay is wet. I cannot think of one. So putting water on them, so doing like a wash, you can't do. All right, I need to turn this. I'm trying to keep this simple for you guys, but really because of being right-handed, I need to come at it from a certain angle. There we go. So I started at 110. I don't know what my time is now, but my goal was to get it done in an hour and 15 minutes, which I think would make a 2-hour class. And I think not bad. I'd have to, so the last step of this after it's dry, and I'd have to send everybody home with it because you can't do it right away, is to take the chalk and rub the chalk onto condition, the chalkboard. But it has to be dry, like I'd say 48 hours before you do that. Oh my God, I am the queen of not paying attention. Look, I just dipped that brush into the wrong color to touch up. Okay, new brush. Hello, hello. So I purposely showed you that mistake, you guys. So if you make it, maybe it was a happy accident. All right, so I'm gonna have to paint over that again when it's dry. God. I can't believe I did that, but yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I believe it. Actually, so touch-ups are going to just not be the right color. Maybe that'll be part of the process, is marbleizing the colors a little bit. Okay, so 40 minutes. 40 minutes, this is what we have. Everything's still wet. I see lots of touch-ups that I can make on it, and it's smaller than the board I'll be using. So I think that's good. What do you guys think? You do that a lot. Oh, I'm just like not paying attention. I'm dipping. Like I've never actually, Dan, I've never actually dipped into my beverage thinking it was paint. So I guess that's a plus. I don't know if people just joke about that or if they've actually done it. Test shading. Yeah, I can't, so who said, so Pearl, I can't wax because, so this is for a workshop, and that means that it has to be done all at once, which means the clay is still wet. So if the clay is still wet, I can't, you know, a wax brush, you'd have to get it in there to get into all the details and then wipe it off. I don't want to lose the detail on my molds. So, you know, maybe adding different colors and marbleizing just on those. You know, I could add a little gold paint. I don't know. It's, you know, my favorite part is actually bringing out those details. So when that's not done now, it kind of, to me, looks like half done. So, Dan, yeah, maybe test shading. So maybe like mixing colors for just what's brought up. Or, all right, I kind of need this test board today, but let's try something. Give me maybe I'll use a white for this. I'm sure we'll have plenty of white. I'm going to get a little bit of white paint. Let's see if this works. I'm running out of plates though. All right, here, I've got white paint right here. Let's not dip into the wrong color. Got too much stuff on my workspace. All right, I'm just grab another brush. All right, so let's dip into some white paint. I got nothing to lose, right? And let's move my mess. You know, this is hardened a little bit. I mean, it's definitely not, you could really squish it and so I'm just going to go over the top. I'm not going to try to do the edges, and try to do white and, you know, all the pretty edges. I'm just going on the top and making sure it's pushed down into the little spots there. All right, and then, geez, that paint's already pretty much dry, but since I have a wet wipe and it's damp, I am going to, let's see if this works, blow dry the top coat. You know what? I don't think we're going to have access to that stuff, Jerry. That's the problem. I'm trying to do this without like all the extras. Normally, I would do that. I've got heat guns, and that would be the thing. But we're going to be outside intense, and so I'm not sure that's possible. All right, well, that does add some detail. What do you think? I mean, it's not as good as what I could do if it was dry, because I would totally hit it with dark wax. All right, so we're gonna have drier racks. Okay, I know nothing about those or how long they take or how well they work. All right, but that works for me. I like that. And then maybe I could, you know, go around the edges and shade, or just play around, or do it simple and let them figure that out at the workshop. All right, so I am going to finish that up by putting the white in there and then touching up where I have the black where it doesn't belong, and I mixed brushes and all that. But I'm going to say a thank you for watching, and I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. So that was a pretty quick, fun project. If you guys are around, I got clay in my hair. If you guys are around, or even not around, like I'm not around, close to Idaho, I will be posting, and if you follow the Withered Barn or the Weathered Shed or Funkature Furniture or Vintage Retail Therapy, we'll be posting lots of info about that. I would love to see you guys in Idaho. That'll be awesome. And if you're local, I'm going to post a workshop. We're going to do one like this here in New Hampshire. All right, have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.